Okay, set.
Yes, good evening. Welcome to September 22nd Conservation Commission meeting in the Carter Room. And tonight, we're going to start off with, well, first of all, I'd like to welcome two new members, Richard Smith and Sam Malafonte. Thanks for volunteering.
Thank you. Thanks.
We'd like to have the representative, Doug Ehrlich, from the commission, he's the representative from the commission to the Community Preservation Act Committee to come forward and just give us an update? Is that what?
That's not me.
No. We're looking for a representative from the commission, somebody that would volunteer to go on to community preservation as a representative from...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, thank you.
Do we have any volunteers to go on the Community Preservation Committee?
We just need one person.
So far, nobody.
I'll volunteer.
Okay. Joanne, thank you very much. Okay, we'll take care of that. And now we have a request for determination from Keolis Commuter Services for work related to the vegetation management, control and maintenance activities for the railroad right-of-way. This is an extension of a previous request for determination that's good for 5 years. I'm sure that you all saw the letter from the Massachusetts Conservation Commission, which they are just a nonprofit organization for guidance. There was a follow-up letter from Clary Kotu, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, and all she wants to do is just request an extension of an RDA so that they can go in and just kill weeds, have protection around the railways and in the areas that's open. The RDA, as it comes forward, is a generic RDA, which, because they have to go to all the towns in Massachusetts to control their vegetation. So all she's requesting is a new RDA, but it's an extension of the last one. So, any questions from the board? Any conversation?
Is there any change since the last?
Nothing. It's just, it's exactly, what they're doing is they're just basically killing the weed in the footprint of the railway, the railroad, the rails.
That's using herbicide, correct?
Say again?
That's using herbicide, that's spraying them?
Yeah, it'll be a herbicide. It's in the, which is all, and that's controlled by, what do you call it? It's in the letter too.
Department of Agriculture, correct?
Yeah, yes, the Department of Agriculture, for the Pesticide Bureau. They have to just make sure they stay within the parameters of the Pesticide Bureau. So,
This map, though, shows DEP approved zone 2, but there is also limited spray zone up further. If you have a look at the colour map.
what did you just ask, Joanne?
The red and white crossings are the DEP approved zone 2, right?
Yeah, red and white.
But then
The hatch crossing.
the crosses.
The cross
You
down at the
can't
bottom?
see it's in black and white, but if you have a look at on your map, the color map.
Oh, I don't have that.
Further up, it has a limited spray zone 1-year interval. Was that approved on the original?
Yes. And it says right here on paragraph 3, that they will not alter an area subject to protection under the MGL 13140. They're not going to remove any fill or dredge anything or alter the area at all. And therefore, it does not require the filing of a notice of intent. So, if there's no more discussion from the board, I'll open it up to the audience. Does anybody have anything to say on this from the audience? Okay, we'll bring it back to the board, and what they're requesting is a negative determination on the request for determination, and it will be good for 5 years. If nobody has anything else to say, if I could have a motion on that?
Motion for a negative determination.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Approved, 100%? Okay. Next, we have a request for determination, 75 Dale Street, Frank Winowitz, on the section of the, I'm gonna need help with this, Shamus River located on the property. Everybody that would, Sean?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Welcome aboard, Mr. Malafronte. My name is Attorney Sean Riley, 500 Washington Street, and I'm here with Mr. and Mrs. Jenowitz. I'd like to point them out in the crowd. Frank and Jean are on the far side of the room, as where I'm standing. With us tonight and with representing the Winowitzes is Mr. John Zimmer. John's right here. John is a wetland scientist from South River Environmental. He's been a wetland scientist for over 20 years of experience. Some of you who have been on the board may know John, have seen John. And you also may have seen Mr. Kevin Grady. Kevin is a professional engineer from Grady Consulting, again, over 20 years of experience. Kevin and John have put together, or Kevin put together the package. John has reviewed it, the submission for the request for determination for the property at 75 Dale Road. That's going to be the limit of my presentation tonight, I hope, and I'm going to turn it right over to Kevin, who is the author and has a lot more information to give to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. The Winowitz requested that we review the wetlands on their property, and we discussed the status of the Shamatuskakant River. My discussions with Mr. Winowitz, he had indicated that they'd been living at this house since 1969, and that he annually sees the river stop flowing. Based on that conversation, we decided to take a closer look at this, and during the month of July, I went out and took photographic evidence of the river not flowing for 4 consecutive days. I was out there early in July as well, and then I was out there again for the 4 consecutive days in mid-July, and documented that there was no flow in the riverbed. I submitted that with my application, which was submitted to you. So the RDA, we're requesting the commission determine that the river located on the property is intermittent. The river flows north to south through the eastern portion of the property. The river is shown on the USGS maps as a blue line and is considered to be perennial unless we meet the requirements of 10.58 to A1D, which we've submitted the documentation. As I indicated, the river was dry for 4 consecutive days, got photographic evidence. We also looked at historic applications before the commission, and there was one at an adjacent property in 2002 that's actually downstream of this site, where the commission did determine that the river was intermittent at this location. So being downstream of where we are, if the commission found that to be intermittent, that's further evidence that the upstream portion must be intermittent as well. So the applicant requests that the commission find that this portion of the river on the Winowitz's property is intermittent and not a perennial river based on the evidence that was submitted. And I'll be happy to take any, Chip.
Just a question. They've been there for how many years?
Since 1969, so 51 years.
Just curious, why do you want to change it now? What is there a reason to change it to an intermittent? Just. Go ahead.
Microphone, Frank. They're looking to sell their property now for their retirement. So in order to do that, they need to determine that this is an intermittent stream or not. We believe it certainly is an intermittent stream. The prior Conservation Commission has already made that determination, but we'd like to do it for their property, which, as Kevin just mentioned, was upstream of the prior submission. Knowing that, once it's determined that it's intermittent, then Mr. Grady and the Winowitzes and Mr. Zimmer can make plans to see what could be built there, what cannot be built there, so they can determine future developments or saleability of the property. So this is step one of a probably 10-step process, but this is the place to start.
Sean? I just wanted to pass these out to the board, please. Just kind of I looked this up. There's only one other thing that I found in looking this up, is that it should be dry somewhere between 30 to 90 days for an intermittent stream. I read that someplace. I could be wrong.
I'd like to
Go ahead.
comment on that. So I looked in the Wetlands Protection Act, and they, as I think you were about to state, regarding the non-drought conditions, it's 4 consecutive days of non-drought conditions. In July, we received an inch, 1.1 inches of rain, and 0.6 of that came on one day. So the 4 days or 5 days that they've presented that the stream was dry, I don't know if that accurately represents the stream from a year standpoint. It definitely was dry in the images shown and the observations you made, but.
It's been a very dry year.
Right, it's been a drought since mid-May, basically.
Okay, just to address your point, again, John Zimmer, South River Environmental. The specific performance standards in 310 CMR states that the observations over 4 days, any consecutive 12-month period during a non-drought period. So there was no, and that drought period is designated by DEP. So in July of this year, there was no drought designation by DEP. There was later in August, but that was after the observations had been made. You know, if we wouldn't have been able to come in and request this, had we made those observations during a drought period, because they wouldn't be applicable.
I've also printed the section of the wetlands protection regulations as it relates to the definition of the intermittent stream and the documentation of field observation. Well, you have 310 CMR 10, but if you need this for your records, I'm happy to give it to you.
And just adds for the commission members who aren't familiar with this specific area, this is basically the start, or some would call it the headwater of this river that's shown on the plan, the Shumatuscacan. Thank you, Doug. It's Mr. Elwick, who's an abutter. Actually, Doug isn't a butter, Doug Elwick isn't a butter. I don't want to speak for you, Doug. I'll show you speak later. It was his application in 2002 where he had the board determine that this area was an intermittent stream. And as was mentioned earlier, Doug is actually downstream from the Winowitz property. So the rationale would be, well, if it's intermittent when it gets to his house, it must be intermittent when it goes by our house. This is the very start of one of the tributaries to the Shuma. We'll call it the Shuma. I recently moved off of Russell Lane, and there's another tributary that comes off of the back of Russell Lane. Same thing, it dries up, and when it rains, I took pictures there for the last 5 years to show that that was intermittent also. Was planning to come before this board to do something similar to this for that house, but I ended up selling it. As a kid, I'm very familiar with it because there's a Oakland Road, an old paper street out there. We used to walk through the woods. When it rains, there's water in the channel, but there are times during the year, in 2002 and in 2020 at least, where it does dry for specific purpose periods, and it qualifies under the DEP regulations. Thanks.
Questions from the board? Okay, we're gonna open it up to the public. Anybody have anything to say? Yes, Doug?
I do. Good evening. My name is Doug Ulwick. I'm an architect. I'm also a direct abutter at 99 Dale Street. And it was my case coming before the commission some years back that has been cited here, and it was a good thing to cite. I also have other information that is semi-public. As it turns out, I have a dog, and I walk it back through the woods every day that I'm in Abington, twice a day. And I also make commentary on Facebook. And I went back over my old Facebook postings, and I have commentary going back to 2010, when I'm likely to say, hey, the river's bone dry. It's an intermittent stream, and it's dry right now. I have that notation appeared in 2010, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2019, and 2020. So all of those time periods, I made note that the river is bone dry. I compared it to a chart from DCR, the state DCR, for the southeast region, and when they listed droughts. And only 2 of those times, one, there was an advisory, and this year, potentially an overlap for drought, but all the other years, no. There were no drought conditions. Further in my notes, when the river filled again, I often made comment to that. We had big rain last night, the river's full again. And in 2019, on October 12th, the river had filled on my property, but it had not yet filled on the Winowitz property. Again, I'm downstream. And that same phenomenon occurred in 2016. On October 11th, 2016, I had water in the river, intermittent stream, on my property, but the Winowitz property was still dry. So it's really clear to me that it's an intermittent stream. I have lived there for 25 years, and I've had my property for 38 years. So I've gotten to see it over a great length of time, and I think those of us who live on the river are quite familiar with this phenomenon. So I'm here to attest with additional knowledge, with additional recording, again, semi-public, you can go on my Facebook page and see it, with photographs, that this is an intermittent stream. And I hope the board sees accordingly.
Could you
Yes.
pronounce that river for me again?
Yes, I can. It's Wampanoag for Lesser Beaver Brook, and it's called the Shumatuskakant.
Thank you.
And if you want the full education, flowing over into Cleveland Pond, we have the Shumatakastakut, which is Greater Beaver Brook. I'm a town historian, I have to say that.
Thank you.
So which one is the river that actually feeds into Island Grove and
Island
continues
Grove
on?
is the Shumatuskakant, and it's got various branches that do it. This particular branch, sorry, my mask keeps falling. This particular branch was actually man-made, this particular section. This part of Dale Street, between Dale Street and Paper Street, known as Oakland Road, was very swampy. And I believe it was contractor Freeman Atwood who went in there with a bulldozer and created the current stream flow that's there now. So that's been there for some time, but again, the current flow is not necessarily where it's always been.
Thanks.
Would you say that this is dry probably at least 30 days a year?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay. That is one of the stipulations that I did read. 30 to 90 days, if the stream is dry, then it's an intermittent. That is in one of the regulations where I read in the wetlands, so that's, of course, none of us have been there for 30 days to determine that, but we will have to take the experts' advice on that, so anything else from the public? We'll bring it back to the board. Any more questions from the board? Do we have anybody that wants to make a motion?
Motion to, what do we need? What do we need?
The motion will actually read that the board has determined that the river is an intermittent, that the river will be determined by this board as by the previous board in 2002, Doug?
Yes.
Correct.
That it is an intermittent stream. That's what the motion will be. If I could have somebody make that motion?
Motion to approve the intermittent stream.
Okay.
I'll
Second?
second that.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Good luck. Enjoy your retirement.
No one wants to make that motion because no one
Nobody
wants
wanted
to
to pronounce it. That was a mouthful.
Okay. We have building permits. All the permits were signed without any conservation issues. And site visits, we had one.
We got a site visit today with DEP and with Mike and Karen also showed up. And Mike even.
What was that?
We had a site visit today on
Helm Street.
Elm Street, 0 to 22.
Right.
With DEP, I showed up, Mike showed up, Karen showed up, and requested, Mike, you want to fill in the rest?
Yeah, there was an agreement made with the DEP and myself that I wouldn't do any more work there. Everything that's been done is established and fine. There will be no more work done until I get a botanist in there to flag the wetlands, and I agreed to that. And basically, now that it's in the DEP's hands, it's kind of out of the board's hands, because the DEP has been requested by neighbors and so forth to come in. The DEP had Greg DeCisa there and another gentleman, Mike something, I forget. He was from another department, just to check on the fill and so forth. So all things are okay, but I can't do any more until I have a botanist in. And there's no time limit on that, so that was the site visit.
Now, is that going to be sent in writing? Is the
The
DEP going to provide that?
the DEP will be sending the board something,
Okay,
or just to discuss, or to let you know what happened.
okay.
I actually was not aware of that
the site visit?
Yeah.
We got several. Nancy sent two.
Yeah, there was an email sent
I
out.
don't know why my email is not,
I made sure the board knew about it, and Nancy followed up on it Monday.
It went out, I don't know
Yeah.
if your stuff is going into your junk email.
it is.
Joanne.
My stuff's going into my junk mail for some unknown reason, but I didn't get that notification at all. What I did get was a response today saying, I think it was
It
from
was from
you,
you, yeah.
saying that you were not able to make it. And I'm like, make what?
You just have to make sure that Nancy has your correct email, I guess, because of...
Well, I am getting some stuff, I just don't know what the problem is with my...
Do you want me to call you on the phone to let you know when I've sent you an email, or?
Actually, could you, or
Yeah.
just text me or something? That would be great.
If you
Okay.
make sure that her email address is in your contacts, it'll
Yeah.
typically keep it from
It
going to
is,
spam. Is it?
honestly,
Wow.
it is. I don't understand what the problem is.
Now, I got, or,
Want me to take this? We have one question from the audience?
William Creighton, 53 Vineyard Road. This topic you just discussed, was that on tonight's agenda?
No, it's not.
How can you discuss it?
It's on a site visit that we did today, so we have to fill on the board what we did for a site visit.
Site visits were not on the agenda.
Yes, it is. It's on the building
Correspondence.
permits and site visits.
Well, the neighbors didn't know about this. They would be interested.
Well, there's only to say what had happened today. We cannot discuss any of it afterwards, and we cannot, without town council here and without DEP here, we cannot discuss any part of it other than
I
what they
even
sent
talked
for a letter.
to the town manager today. He told me this topic will not be discussed tonight.
It will not, just a site visit only, because as a site visit, which we form the rest of the board.
We just
what
had
was
a
done.
discussion on it.
Okay.
Back to you.
The next, we are going to,
Correspondence.
the minutes of July 20th.
There's only 20, there's only two of us here.
Then you and I will have to okay them, because Karen's not here. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of July 20th.
And we'll second it.
We both approve. We vote unanimous. And, the minutes of August 26th.
Make the motion to approve the minutes of August 26, 2020.
Second?
All in favor?
uh,
I abstain, I wasn't here. Do we have anything else? Nancy?
I just gotta get you guys to.
Right,
sign.
okay, we just have to sign the RDA for both.
I can type in your names after.
Okay. Oh, I see. While we're doing this, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
uh,
Unanimous? Okay. Oh, this is gonna be...